So, good evening again, everyone. This is Dr. Belga Berg, faculty member at Department of CSE, AI and ML, Cybersecurity, Jane Dean to be University. Welcome to another session of Industry Connect program. Today's guest speaker is Mr. E Rahul Naidu, founder and managing director of Methuselah Technologies and Business Consulting Private Limited. Mr. Naidu is a seasoned professional corporate trainer with a decade of experience of training more than 5,000 individuals, including college students and professionals, in a wide array of specialized fields like cloud computing, IT security, DevOps, data science, corporate communication, design thinking, leadership, startups, and business management. His company, Methuselah Technologies and Business Consulting Private Limited, founded in 2020, has already become an established business consulting and IT services provider in a short span of less than 2 years. We are glad to have you here with us, Mr. Naidu. Welcome. Please take over the session.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Just give me a moment. I'll share my screen.
Sir, if you could, please share a video. Please turn on your video, sir.
Just give me a moment, ma'am.
Sure, sir.
I'm turning on my video.
All right. Sir, do you have any difficulty on your side?
Just a moment, ma'am. I'm just doing it.
No. Okay.
Okay. Am I visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sure. So let me share my screen first. Just a moment. So is my screen visible now?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Just a moment. Okay. Is this is it visible now?
Yes, visible, sir.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. I'm Rahul, and I'll be taking up this session. And meanwhile, I got to know that you people are first year BCA and B.Tech students, right? So I hope you people have a brief understanding of what is AI, ML, and deep learning. So people can start responding in the chat. If at all you have any doubts, you can ask me questions as well over the chat. Okay. So let's start with what is artificial intelligence. See, artificial intelligence basically comes up with the term intelligent. Intelligent is nothing but the ability to think and process in a way that you are able to derive out a mechanism to solve certain problems. In this current world, we come across three buzzwords which are, everybody is talking about. One is called as artificial intelligence, the other one is machine learning, and the third one is deep learning. So let's talk about artificial intelligence for a moment. So artificial intelligence is basically that particular method in which you are making algorithms or programs which you are helping the computer to train on to think like a human being and process the information whatever is being inputted into or being observed, and then process it with certain step by step mechanism similarly like a human. Okay, so artificial intelligence and machine learning are considered of the next evolving in computing. That means these are the terms and these are the things which will be up in this market for a very long time. Now, these technologies hinge on to a particular patterns that are based on data observations of the past. That means the data, whatever is being observed by machines or which is being inputted, that data is being processed in a way to derive out certain predictions or certain functions or uh, a decision making capability which will basically be giving us as the outcomes. Okay, so the machine learning utilization of AI principles are often referred to as smart. We normally refer any particular thing which is doing a much advanced job as smart. That means smartphones, smart devices, and other things. Basically these terms don't learn on their own. Okay, these particular devices, though we are calling them smart, they don't learn on their own. The artificial intelligence and machine learning This is a process which we will be implementing it in order to make these devices think, sorry, not think, but to train themselves to observe through various informations and then process it in a way to give out outputs. So the data scientists prepare the inputs, selecting on the variables to be used for progressive predictive analysis. Okay, so let's move on further. So can anybody let me know the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning? Anyone? Anyone can unmute themselves and they can speak if at all they know. Anyone would like to give a try?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So it's me, Virat. So the difference between AI, ML, and DL is like AI have been like an automation processes which works without human intervention. ML is a subset of AI which like uses statistical learning and algorithms to build upon itself. And deep learning, actually, I'm not very much pretty much sure about it. So like it's a subset of AI, I know, but to differentiate between it, like it
Now you're
filters
able
information
to, yeah.
and learn from its examples and the input data by humans, I can say.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So deep learning, this is a field that is based on learning and improving on its own by examining computer algorithms, while machine learning uses simpler concepts. Deep learning works with artificial neural networks, which are designed to imitate how humans think. Okay, so basically we are training the computers in order to imitate how humans think. Now when it comes to humans, we think via brain and we get the inputs through our senses. There are five senses and through which we get our inputs, and those particular inputs, whatever we get, with the help of neurons present in the nerves, they are transmitted and they are then processed in the brain, right? This is the process normally what a human follows. Now, until recently, neural networks were limited by computing power and these were limited in complexity. Okay, earlier when we were trying to just develop these particular algorithms, these were very, very simple and they were not able to, process complex mechanisms. But nowadays, we are able to deal with much complex mechanisms or problems using deep learning. So, however, the advancements in big data analytics here have permitted us for doing so. So now the neural networks allowing computers to observe, learn, and react to a complex situation faster than the humans. This is the capability what we have got using deep learning. Okay. And this we have been using in various different problems which we are facing, and we'll be talking about that in the future. Now, let's talk a bit more about deep learning. So the deep learning algorithms are constructed with connected layers. Now, whenever we are developing an algorithm is nothing but a set of programs. These set of programs basically um, are in a fashion which are constructed of layers. Now, the starting layer, which is called as the input layer through which we are inputting the data, and the last layer or the final sorry, the final layer, it is called as the Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is my screen visible to you people?
No, you might have to reshare it, sir. Yes, it is visible now.
Okay. It is visible now, right? So now we were talking of neural networks, and in this neural network for these algorithms, okay. So here we have the first layer, which is called as the input layer. The last layer, which is called as the output layer, and all the layers in between these, which are hidden layers, it is called as the intermediate layers, which basically do all the processing part. So here the word deep means the network joins neurons in more than two layers. So if at all, so each hidden layer is composed of neurons. Okay, what are these neurons? Can anybody define a neuron? Okay, so neurons are nothing but those are interconnected particles in the layer, which basically helps us transmit the data from the input layer till the output layer, and in the intermediate layers process this particular data. So the neurons will process that particular and propagate the input signal it receives in the layer above it. The strength of the signal gives the neuron in the next layer depends on three things. That is the weight, the bias, and the activation function. Okay, these are the three parameters in which basically depends the strength of that particular signal what the lower layer will receive from the layer above. The network commences a large amount of input data and operates them through multiple layers. The network can learn increasingly complex features of data in each layer. So more the number of layers, the more is the capability of that particular algorithm in order to learn about the data and process it to get the output in a much complex manner. The more the number of layers, the much complex data it can process. Okay, so this is basically a brief of deep learning. Any doubts till now? Okay. So now let's talk about the steps or the process what deep learning follows. So the first step is understanding the problem. So whenever we come up with a problem, the machine needs to understand that first, and how will it be basically be made to train or to made to learn in order to give out the output. Okay, the next step will be identifying the data. When we are giving a particular problem to a human mind or to a computer mind, that particular problem comes with multiple set of data. Now the system needs to understand and decipher what exactly is the data in that particular. You select the deep learning algorithm out of the many algorithms present in order to compute that particular data. Next is, once you have found out the algorithm, using that data, the algorithm trains the system in order to generate multiple results, iterative results for the same function, and thus trains the machine in order to generate an output. The last step is the test that particular model. Once the training is done, we basically test that model on that algorithm and we derive the output. So now let's talk about sorry. So let's talk about a simple problem. Now, we all must have seen a small child, right? So that small child, whenever it sees a particular object or anything, it points out a finger and says the word cat. Okay? Any particular object, any particular thing, whatever it finds out, it points out its fingers and says cat. Now the parents get a bit worried, and then what the parents normally do, they tell them, tell the child, this is a cat, this is not a cat, whenever he raises the finger and points out to any particular object. Okay, so now in this, whenever the kid is raising a finger and pointing out to an object, it is basically collecting the data. The data is being fed in, and whenever he's processing and coming out with an output, he is being given the correct suggestion or the prediction, correct suggestion, so that over a period of time, when he grows up mentally and simultaneously a training has been done that this is a cat, this is not a cat. Okay, when we do this, the accuracy of the child pointing out to a cat increases. All of you agree with this? So in this case, when we say that, okay, the child's accuracy to identify a cat is improved. So behind the scene, what has happened? He has undergone multiple iterations for performing the same activity, pointing out to an object and getting multiple results. Some of them were true, some were false, but over a period of time with multiple results and multiple corrections, his accuracy is now improved and he is able to point out to the exact cat. Whenever he sees a real cat, he says it's a cat. And to other objects, he doesn't refer to them as cats. Okay. So a neural network works quite the same way. Each layer represents a deep level of knowledge, that is the hierarchy of knowledge. A neural network with 4 layers will learn more complex features than that with of a 2 layer. So more the number of layers of the neural networks, the more complex problems or analysis the system will be able. Now, whenever this learning is happening, the learning is basically happening in 2 phases. The first phase consists of applying a non-linear transformation of the input to create a statistical model as an output. That means a non-linear transformation of inputs. That means whenever he is pointing out to an object and and creating a statistical model as an output. That means he is picturizing that and relating to a particular word. The second phase aims at improving the model with a mathematical method known as a derivative. So basically, whenever we are training or writing algorithm, we compute that particular output through a mathematical function, and we keep on comparing it to a value so that the accuracy is improved with every iteration of the training. Now the neural networks, they are basically classified in several types. The first one being shallow neural networks. As the name suggests, the shallow neural network has only one hidden layer. That means the depth is very, very less. Okay. So there's only one layer between the input layer and the output layer. Now the next is called as a deep neural network. So the deep neural network have more than one layers, okay, between the input and the output layers. Now, for example, how many of you have heard Google LeNet model for image recognition? Anybody has come across this? So post this session, those who have not come across can just find it out online and what exactly it is. So it basically uses 22 layers in order to recognize a particular image. Okay, it is basically an image recognition mechanism. So basically it uses 22 layers. So 22 layers are between the input and the output layer. Sorry. So now the next here, this diagram basically represents there are different type of neural networks. Okay. Moving on next. So the first type which we'll be discussing is feed forward neural network. Now feed forward means it is only going in a single direction. So the simplest type of artificial neural network with this type of architecture information flows in only one direction, forward. That means the information flows, starts at the input layer, goes to the hidden layer, and ends at the output layer. The network does not have a loop. That means the data only travels in one linear direction. It does not form a loop. It does not, repeat or iterate. Okay. So this is called as feed forward neural network. Can anybody cite an example stating where we can use feed forward neural networks? Anyone? Are you people able to hear? Are you people able to understand whatever I'm saying? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. Okay. So things are clear till here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now feed forward neural network is done where the data was traveling only in one single direction. Now we move on to the next one, that is recurrent neural networks, or which is also called as RNNs. Okay. So now RNN or the recurrent neural networks are multiple layers of neural networks that can store information in context nodes, allowing it to learn data, sequences, and output a number or other, or another sequences. In simple terms, connections between neurons include loops. That means the data inputted from the input layer, it went on to the first layer, it went on to the second layer, and when the data came out from the second layer, the data was such that it was again sent to the first layer. It was again processed and it came back to the second layer. It went to the third layer. It went on back to the second layer. Then it went on back to the first layer. And that is how multiple loops were formed by the type of data which we were getting out of it. Okay. So these are called as recurrent neural networks where the data loops, and basically it is processing in sequences. Okay, the diagram below you can just see. So the data is basically here forming a loop. Next is the convolutional neural networks. Okay, this is slightly more complex than the first two what we have seen. So it is a multi-layered neural network with a unique architecture designed to extract increasingly complex features of data at each layer to determine the output. Okay, that means through RNN or through a linear network, whenever the data is traveling with passage through every layer, the data what we are getting is becoming complex and more complex and more complex. So here basically it is using a structure in which more and more complex data can be processed. Okay, so these are basically suited for perpetual tasks. One example of which I can give you is for trading. Okay, for generating signals, because with each with every passing time, the signals what we get for buying and sell in trade, they vary, they change, their value changes. So with passage of time, what happens is the data what we'll be getting in each layer is becoming much more complex. Okay, so CNN is mostly used when there is unstructured data set. All of you are aware of what is a structured and unstructured data set? Structured data is all the properties for that particular data you can put up in dimensions, that is either it's a one dimension, two dimension, three dimension, or multi-dimension, but the number of dimensions are always fixed. But in unstructured data, the dimensions are not at all fixed. Okay. So now the next level is called as reinforced learning. Sorry, reinforcement learning. So in reinforcement learning, it is a subfield of machine learning in which systems are trained by receiving virtual rewards or punishments. Now, rewards or punishments are a mechanism in which you can train a machine whether it is doing good or it is doing bad. Basically, punishments and rewards, normally we come across situations where we want to train a particular machine to play a particular game. The game can be very simple, such as tic-tac-toe, or we can also program a particular machine for playing chess. Now, for every particular move it makes, it either gets rewarded or it gets a punishment. Okay. So by giving a virtual reward or punishment, we are basically reinforcing the particular learning what the machine is obtaining out of each and every iteration or each and every step. Okay. And in this method, the machine learns by hit and trial method. Whether it is by the try, it either succeeds or it encounters an error. Okay, so we have something called as Google's DeepMind, and it is used reinforcement learning to beat a human champion in the Go games. Okay, all of you can just check what are Go games, and here Google basically used its DeepMind technique or the tool by training it in such a way that it basically beated a human champion at the same game. So reinforcement learning is also used in video games to improve gaming experience or by providing smarter bots. So now I want you people to come up with minimum of two examples where you feel you can use reinforcement learning. Anyone?
Sir, it's like Alpha Zero, which was also made to defeat chess champion Gary Kasparov back in the days.
Can you explain a bit more?
So, like AlphaGo is like one of the AI which was made by DeepMind, in 2015 to beat the human
Okay.
Go champion. Like in
Yeah.
the 1980s, there was another AI named Google. It's Alpha Zero to defeat the human chess champion during that time.
Okay.
Same thing was also used during that era.
So see, DeepMind is fine. Anything else? I'm not talking about any
So like
particular
making music,
algorithm.
so also making music, we can also use.
Making music.
Yeah, like
Uh,
AI music.
like how?
Nowadays, there are many AI bots which are also making music.
Deep fake, sir.
Okay. Now, I want you people to come out with what are the uses where we can implement, artificial intelligence, machine learning, or deep learning, where all it is being used.
Maybe it can be
Implementation.
maybe it can be used in traffic signals to monitor the cars which are going through.
Okay,
In the
traffic
crime detection.
signals.
Yeah, yes,
Traffic detection, it is already being used, right?
like they can monitor the pattern and they can suppose there is one ambulance is going and they if they can monitor it from a long distance back, it will be very useful.
Okay. Anything else? Come up with new ideas. So it's basically for
Crime
problem solving,
detection.
right? Crime detection, how?
So by using the cameras and all the sensor that we already have in the in a particular property or as a globally as in like we can say in like a street, we can find out who is a criminal and who is doing the criminal, and at the same time we can bots can automatically file a complaint over some person using their like face recognition technology, like this is a person committed which crime
Okay.
at which time, and can it be easy to catch a criminal ongoing
Okay.
like in a carpooling or something.
So I will say something. You just let me know whether it can be implemented or not. Okay. So now with this COVID-19, what has happened is everybody needs to maintain social distancing, right?
Yes.
So can that be implemented using machine learning?
Yeah, I think so. It has been
But so I had
implemented.
another question, sir.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about this reinforcement learning with rewards and punishment, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
So I saw that AlphaGo, okay, sir, like studied about it, but I heard like they were learning. AlphaGo is basically learning from itself, playing games against itself millions of times, and each time it's learning from its mistake. So, but I didn't understood
Yeah.
where is this punishment and reward system using,
Okay.
sir?
So when you play a particular game, right? All of you might have played NFS,
Yes, sir.
right? So when you play NFS, what happens is by repeatedly traveling onto multiple tracks. Okay. Suppose you got a track and you're racing on that particular track. Imagine a person who is coming and racing on that track for the very first time, and a person who has raced on the same track for around 50 laps. Who will drive better?
One with the 50 laps, sir,
50 laps. Why?
because it's testing out again and again, sir.
Yeah,
Same.
because he has done it multiple times. And how is he bettering himself with every passage, every lap? Suppose once he was traveling for the first lap, he must have done certain mistakes, right? Some mistakes due to which his speed might have decreased, or his vehicle might have tumbled, or something or the other. Okay. So in the second lap, because he had done a mistake in the previous lap, what he must have done is he must have kept that in mind and tried a different way out in the second lap. Similarly, by learning his mistakes in the past, what he has done is after completing say around 50 laps, he is a much better player than the one who will be starting with the first lap. Now, what he did, whenever he was winning or whenever he did right, yes or no, that happens, right?
Yes, sir.
So basically, you are virtually giving yourself a reward. You feel excited, you thump a fist or do something whenever you win a particular game. Why? What are you giving yourself? You're not giving yourself any actual reward or anything. Okay. And the opposite happens when you lose something. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So similarly, now if it is a machine doesn't come up with emotions. In order to keep a track of what is right and what is wrong, or what needs to be done and what shouldn't be done, what we are allocating a virtual reward and a virtual punishment, which basically the machine can only store it as ones and zeros, and his its tendency should be getting more ones than zeros. Zero here is a punishment and one here is the reward, right? The more the reward, the better it becomes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that is how this virtual reward mechanism, it is just to let you know. But basically in reinforcement learning, more and more right behavior by the machine is expected, and the count for right you were doing is to be increased. That's the motto when we are training a machine. So whenever the machine does something right, it is counted. Whenever it is done something wrong, then it is given as a negative marking or something, so that the machine knows that he doesn't have to do that particular game. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Any other doubts?
No, sir.
Now, can anybody let me know some of the disadvantages of machine learning, artificial intelligence, or deep learning? Disadvantages.
Sir, it's a very costly.
It is?
Very costly, sir.
Mm, how are you calling it as costly?
To create this machine and to simulate everything, it's like not a small deal, sir. And basically, ultimately, in next 50 years, it going to make human lazy and make it more unethical, sir, because it doesn't have emotions, sir.
See, it's not about unethical or ethical. I will tell you one thing. Okay. Now, here, what we are trying to do is we are trying to make a machine think and work like like humans. Okay. Keeping ethics aside, whatever, how you learn by doing, if somebody is a better person, how he learns good things by doing small good things repeatedly, by doing less number of bad things. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So if you are training a machine in order to discard the wrongdoing and redo and do more of the good tasks, then the question of ethics won't even come. We are sitting idle and thinking of the ethics. But here the machine is being trained to do a task repeatedly and is learning from the task by by repeated activities. The machine is learning what is good and what is bad. And the good needs to be done and the bad doesn't need to be done. Okay. So
But
now, yeah.
it doesn't happen every time, sir.
Yeah, that doesn't even happen every time with a human being also.
Yes, sir.
Right? Humans only commit crimes. So that is not the thing. It is onto your hands. See, one thing will always be there. The first initiator will always be a human being for anything and everything to happen, at least as of now. Yes or no? Machine will be trained by humans only. The capability of thinking to the machines is being given by humans.
But nowadays it's beyond humans, sir.
See, that will happen because machines are a better learner than humans. We have numerous distractions. We have a tendency to forget things, or we don't recollect things on time, and those kind of issues are there. But when it comes to machine memory, that those issues are not there. So the things, how a machine works is completely in a mechanical way. It can go both good as well as bad. Depends on how it has been trained. Okay. So now let us talk about some of the limitations of machine learning. What are the limitations?
Accuracy, maybe.
So first thing, you can, for attaining accuracy, right? What is required for more and more accuracy?
More training data.
More training data is required, which is very, very hard to get. Now, when you will be start making something of machine learning or anything, what you will do is you will manually input circumstances what the machine needs to be trained on. And repeatedly, the machine is getting trained on and on and on. So the scope of that is very limited. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
You can give 10, 20, 25, 30, or such odd number of inputs to the machine, that okay, these are the possibilities what can happen. You can train and you put it for training. So over a period of time, say like around 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 1 month, the machine became perfected only on those circumstances. Similarly happens when you learn to drive a bike, right? Many a times you fall, many a times you find it difficult to take a turn, many a times when the traffic is there, you just panic or do something. But over a period of time, what happens? You are good to go. It doesn't matter how much traffic is there on the road, you are happily driving, right? That is how you get trained. So first limitation is the huge amount of data sets which will be required here. Any other limitation which you people are able to find out?
Time.
Time can never become a constraint unless and until you are putting a constraint over time yourself, that okay, this is the only amount of time, and within this time itself, how much you are able to train. So that is one limitation you can put, if at all. If you're putting a competition, like, okay, you can develop a machine which has to do this task. Okay, there are 3 4 teams, and to each team the task has been allocated, and I'll say I'll only give your machine the time to learn is, say, around 6 hours of time. So it depends on which is the better algorithm, how well a particular machine has learned over that fixed amount of time. Yes, then the time can become a constraint. Anything else?
So I had
Yeah.
one question, sir.
Yeah.
So you said they can only work with the limited amount of data we supply to them.
Yes.
So, but how they are like being so creative and beating out humans only, sir?
Okay. Beating out humans also. Okay. So now what is happening is, now you are driving, right? You know to drive, right?
Yes, sir.
So since how long are you driving?
6 months.
6 months or so. Okay. Any accidents?
No, sir.
Then that means you're a good driver. But normally, like, if you take up a huge time span, say around 3 4 years ka time span, and then you compare with n number of people, so the proximity of people getting and having an accident or being falling from a bike or those kind of activities, they are more than if you train a machine to drive. The number of accidents, see, all, you can't say that all the people driving on the road all are newbies, and nobody can say okay, everybody is a perfect driver. Accidents still happen, right? But when you say a self-driving car, the proximity of, the accident being committed by a self-driving car is far less than a human. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that answers your question. Anything else? Any other questions? So one thing before winding up the session, I would ask you people, after this session, whenever you find time, sit down and list out 10 problems which you feel you can or anybody can train a particular machine how to solve and get to a conclusion. And next thing, pick up any two from these particular set of problems and try writing in human language itself how you will be solving that problem, what are the steps involved, and what all data you need to you need to give it to the machine in order to learn, and how will it be learning. So you can basically draw a flow chart of things, no need of coding, no need of doing anything, just on a piece of paper you can do that. All of you got the activity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with this, we come to an end of today's session. So if at all anything, let me know. If at all you have any doubts, anything you want to ask, anything uh, you have to say,
So, sir, I got a question.
yeah.
So you say that AI is so much smarter than humans, which I agree to. And you said like the example you gave about the cars. Like I'm just having a small question. So like,
Sure.
what do you think about AI used in medical fields in that case? Do you think it will be more precise than the actual human doctors?
It will be. It will be more precise
So
because, yeah, tell me.
so are there any chances of like the unemployment of doctors in the future because of AI?
See, I will not say unemployment of doctors, but yeah,
No, so no.
most
I'm
of,
telling like if it's a success now, like example, take electric cars. It's growing
Hmm.
in such a wide range, and it's got all the autopilot and stuff. So in that case, like in the near future, like in very few years, and because of decrease of fuel and stuff,
Yeah,
electric cars will be taking over soon. So
yeah.
in that way, do you think you know?
See, if you're talking in that way, then I will definitely say that the world is moving from a mechanical sort of working to a smarter sort of working. That means most of the tasks what we are doing currently will be automated in the future, and that will basically
Yes, sir.
be
And
done by machines,
yeah,
because their accuracy and their zeal of, if you say, humans have zeal of working, right? So if you are
Mhm.
working at around say 10 a.m. in the morning when you come to office, and I'll give you a new tedious task at around say 5 o'clock in the evening, and your mood will go down. Yeah, that will happen
yes,
because
sir. That's
you have
one
made your
advantage
mind
of
to
AI is
work.
they lack emotions. So
Yeah.
they lack emotions, so you can
But
like
if you
do
give it to a
whatever you
machine,
want them
it will
to.
do it the same emotion every single time.
Yes, sir. So that's gonna like affect the human thing, like employment in a large scale, right, in the coming future.
If you say that, okay, I will only be
Means
sticking on to one mechanical thing, okay, and so see, don't think it in this way, AI ML thing. Think, just let's move a bit back. And when we say, when the
okay, sir.
industrialization was happening, right, before that everything was being done by hand,
Yes, sir.
before computerization
Yeah.
could come in, right? That time also there was a huge
Yes, sir.
shortage of jobs. We can say, there were moments also, we don't want machines and humans need to work and all that things. But we are a civilization which are smart enough, and we need to evolve, right? So all these tedious tasks, if somebody else is doing, you will definitely have something much more smarter to do. There are multiple problems which can be sorted out. Now imagine the type of startups what are coming in these days, right? All are technology startups. They're
Yes,
only
sir.
coming up with one single app, and rest everything is being managed, which was not even thought of as a business in the past. It's a well billion
90s.
dollar business,
Yeah.
right? But the number of people working out there, it is very less. For example, WhatsApp. Hardly there are, you can count the number of employees, it's very less than 100. But the users, they're in billions. So
Yes,
basically,
sir.
what you need to do is you need to think of more such problems which you can solve using technology or using anything. That is what a human being has been doing since ages. Earlier, they used to hunt with stones, right? Then they found out metal. They carved out things from metal. So we are evolving in every way. Now nobody will tell you,
So
okay,
yes,
I'll
sir,
go
my
back.
question is, so there will be a point like where like almost all the companies and all startups will be using AI for the future, like to reduce unemployment and stuff. Like in like one AI bot can do like the work of 10 people. So
So that
they would
particular
adopt to it,
task,
right, in
what
the
was
future.
being done by 10 people will be done by one bot, but there will be much more other tasks which still will require other type of skill set to be done by these 10 people. It only depends whether these 10 people are willing to do that job or not.
Oh, yes, sir.
If you are not willing to learn, like, if a person, if you go, is not willing to learn computers and say, no, no, I am good with pen and paper, they won't get a job, right? That is how it
Yes,
is.
sir.
So you need to, you need to, learn, unlearn, relearn, and that is how you need to propagate. That's how it will be. Anyone else?
Um, Guys, if you don't have more questions, I think we can conclude. Thank you for that brilliant session, Mr. Rahul Naidu. Participants, I have posted the survey link in the chat box. Please make sure that you fill the form before you leave. So before we wind up, I thank the masterminds behind our Industry Connect program, the Department of Computer Science, Engineering, AI, ML, and Cybersecurity, and Futurance Technologies for conducting such a wonderful program for our students. We are grateful to our guest of honor, Mr. Rahul Naidu, for brilliantly explaining deep learning for our students. Thanks are due to Dr. V. Vivek, the head of the Department of Computer Science Engineering in Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning and Cybersecurity, for impeccably coordinating the departmental activities and for continuously motivating us to not to settle for anything less than excellence. I also thank our team of faculty members for always doing their best for our students. Dear students, thanks for participating in the session. We will be back with another wonderful session next week. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.